Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and today we are analysing the reveal trailer for Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 4. This trailer actually launched just after I put up my own fan trailer for the next chapter of the Bendy saga, so I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video and you can let me know what you think. With that said, let's dive into the analysis of this official trailer released by the Meatly Games. The trailer begins with a tracking shot that descends into the depths of an incredibly dark, never before seen level of Joey Drew Studios. Chains sway menacingly, lamps dimly light the surroundings, and ink pours from the ceiling down to the floor, which appears to be flooded. Also notice that cages hang from the ceiling, and atop one of these cages a radio. When we reach ground level, in the foreground we see a gloved hand, which looks eerily similar to Boris, and a body laid out flat that backs up this analysis. Sparks fly from a machine Boris appears to be strapped down to, and behind this device stands Alice, humming a creepy tune with her back to the camera. The screen then cuts to black and we see the number 4 accompanied by the message, "Now in production," and the sound of an organ begins to play before we fade to black. Okay, so with the basics explained, what does all of this mean for Bendy Chapter 4? Let's begin by discussing the cages hanging from chains all over. My best guess is that these cages are used to house Alice's potential captives, ink creatures and characters she has captured, with a plan to put them to use on her quest to becoming perfect. We know from Chapter 3 that Alice is using such creatures to rebuild herself into her personal vision of beauty and perfection, so it stands to reason that she would capture and hold multiple people or creatures at once until the time comes to sacrifice them to her cause. This may well mean that Henry will act as a saviour to captives such as Boris in the upcoming chapter, perhaps locating keys to unlock a number of different cages throughout the level, freeing the hostage inside, and in doing so building up an army of angry prisoners in order to take the fight to Alice directly. This could mean puzzles involving unlocking different cages, resulting in recruiting a team of characters like Boris who will further aid Henry in his quest to stop the ritual. Or these cages could add nothing to the general gameplay and simply be creepy window dressing. Next, let's think about the atmosphere this trailer tries to convey. It's dark, it's foreboding, and it's very, very inky. This seems to be a trend with Bendy and the Ink Machine. Each chapter is darker, inkier, and more oppressive and scary than the last. With this in mind, it's reasonable to assume that Chapter 4 will be the scariest, darkest, and most challenging yet. I mean, with all of this ink, it's going to make running from danger harder than ever, and may result in either a more combat focused chapter or a stealth based chapter where every step must be made with caution. I also believe that given this dark, dank setting, we will absolutely see the return of the flashlight in a big way. Don't you think it was a little odd that Henry only got to use the flashlight for about 30 seconds in Chapter 3? Surely this was a setup for its reappearance in the later chapters. I think we'll be using the flashlight a whole lot more in Chapter 4. Next, let's turn our attention to Boris and Alice. Now, as mentioned before, it looks as though Boris is tied down to a machine, and it seems this device is running as we can see sparks flying from the lower right of the screen. Boris's hand is static, as if he is paralysed, unable to move or react to this situation. There is obviously something not quite right here. Now, looking at Alice, who has her back to us, do you notice anything peculiar? Look at her upper right back, neck and head. Alice has a slim physique and a long slender neck. Here, at first glance, it appears her neck and shoulders are massive. However, closer analysis points to this not being Alice's back at all. Instead, look to Boris. There seems to be ink snaking up from his body in a long line, which then forms the shape of Boris's head, a head that almost seems like it is merging with Alice herself. It kind of looks like Boris's spirit, his inky life force if you will, is being drained from his body and consumed by Alice Angel. This explains why he appears paralysed. It also explains the purpose of the machine he is tied to, and it also explains how Alice is using her prisoners to take their life force and help rebuild her into a vision of perfection.
Look around. It took so many of them to make me so beautiful. Anything less than perfect was left behind.
Remember in Chapter 3, Alice had Henry collect cogs, fuses and special ink. All of these things likely were needed to build and fuel her machine in order to complete her own private ritual and finally transform her into the beautiful creature she desired to be, the perfect Alice. One final thing, the organ at the end. Where have we seen an organ before? Why, in Chapter 2 of course, and Chapter 2 centred around music director Sammy Lawrence. The organ was one of many instruments he was known to play. For a long time it has been my theory that Sammy would make a return to the world of Bendy. We never saw his demise on screen, nor did it seem likely such a pivotal and interesting character would get a very small role in only one chapter. My best guess with this current evidence, Sammy's coming back in Chapter 4. Of course this trailer ends with the line now in production, so when could Chapter 4 of Bendy and the Ink Machine realistically launch? Well, don't expect it this year, games take time. However, given what the developers have said in regards to this next chapter releasing in a shorter time frame than Chapter 3, which came out roughly 5 months after Chapter 2, and given that January sees the 1-year anniversary of Bendy Chapter 1, I feel it would be a safe bet to assume Chapter 4 launches sometime in late January 2018. Which would be around 4 months after the release of Chapter 3 and coincide nicely with Bendy's birthday. And that's it for today's video guys, I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe for more horror related content, including theories, analysis and let's play videos, and I will see you on the next one.